All right, guys, it is CPI Inflation Day. We are up this morning early. We're starting the stream. It is 7 a.m. in the morning. Ooh, I got to drink some coffee. I'm awake, though. We are awake. Today we got CPI inflation data, a very important day for markets and economics. It is going to tell us where the current inflation situation is for consumers, as is today is the Consumer Price Index report. CPI is what it's abbreviated as. And yeah, it's a very important report. Let me know how the sound is. Sound should be pretty good. NASDAQ is up a little bit, almost to that 21,000 level we were at yesterday. We're kind of flat, though, but we're getting close to that 21K level. NVIDIA is up this morning. So a stock I do see up this morning is NVIDIA. I'm checking up on some of the recent news that we just got dropped this morning. Let me update you guys. So yeah, yesterday we did the 90-day pause to the tariffs. Markets are still up from that. This morning it looks like we had a couple small earnings reports, nothing big. United Airlines unveiled the United Elevated Interior for new Boeing 787-9 aircraft delivery. A first United 787-9 with elevated interior expected below 2025. So UA announced some stuff. I'm just waiting for my coffee to cool so I can drink some of it. Bitcoin back up to 104s. It came all the way down to almost 100,000 yesterday. It's all the way back up to almost 104s. AbbVie. What's up, Beach Bum, BT, AM, Jose, Wright, Hero, Joker, Trey, Ray, RPM, Hero of the Day, Keegan, Pawn. What's up, guys? Good morning. Coffee. Let me know if the sound is good. Sound should be pretty good. Let's talk about markets here. Treasury yields are climbing up still, I believe, right? Let me make sure. Yeah, Treasury yields up to over 4.45%, almost to 4.46%. This is a little bit of a dip. Let me just get this out of the way. Like, just to give you guys the 5-day chart. We are dipping down a little bit from yesterday's highs at 4.47s, but we're still pretty freaking high for bond yields. This means a lot of different things. The main one, what this mostly means is when the 10-year rises, yields and prices move inversely. So investors are selling treasuries. This means treasuries are selling off, yields are rising, inversing the actual price of the bond. So the bond prices go down if yields are going up, and which means people are selling treasury bonds, probably because there's a lot of reasons for it. One of the main ones is renewed optimism in the stock market. And so if we have renewed optimism in the stock market, people are going to be more likely to gravitate towards stocks over bonds, and that might make people unload treasuries. It also means higher interest rate sentiment because interest rates and yields follow each other. And so if yields are up, interest rate sentiment is probably going to be higher, especially in mortgages and other stuff. And, it also means that the Fed is worried about inflation, potentially. It reflects markets pricing in stronger growth and or higher inflation, or anticipating Fed rate hikes to cool the economy. So, yeah, bond yields higher. If we look at the rate cut expectations leading in today's CPI report, it's 92 to 8, basically 92 to 8% likely that we are going to pause rates next meeting in June. So only about an 8% chance that we're going to cut rates in June. The NASDAQ, like I said, is getting pretty close to that 90 or that 21,000 level. NVIDIA is up a lot. I want to see if there's any microchip news for NVIDIA driving this higher, because NVIDIA is up a lot. It's up to 123s. Yeah, CPI data coming out today. It's expected at like 0.3%, 0.4%, depending on which place you look. I am showing a 0.3% print potentially. Let me put this up on screen. CPI inflation expected today at a 2 year over year and 0.3% month over month. Live here at 8:30. We'll see what we get. Let's do a poll. Do you guys think higher or lower CPI data is what we're gonna ask here today? Higher or lower CPI inflation data? There we go. I can make myself a little bit smaller here to run this. Yeah, so we'll do a poll. What's up, Ray, Serge, Constantine? Does CPI year over year come in higher or lower than the 2.4% expected today? I'm going to go with as expected, personally, is what I'm going to guess. I really don't know, but I'm going to go with as expected, 2.4%. There's the question. You can vote on the poll. Let me know how you feel. Yeah, I'm looking at some stocks. Tesla down about 1% after closing up almost 7% yesterday. Palantir is down about 0.7%. Went up about 1% at Monday's close. Google down 0.3%, following a almost 4% move up yesterday. So a lot of stuff went up yesterday. When I look at stocks, though, like Nvidia's green on the day, though, only slightly green. So there's Nvidia only slightly green. Apple, it is pushing up though. Apple slightly red. Meta's red. Google slightly red. Microsoft slightly red. Netflix slightly green. AMD up a lot. Yeah, AMD. Maybe it's AMD news. I see some people in chat talking about it's AMD news. That might be true. Nvidia and AMD helped the chip sector to its highest close since February. Yeah. I watch your videos only because of the timer? That's what I'm here for, bro. Listen. I got you. All right, we got about an hour and 19 and a half minutes left. Here you go, bro. You're welcome. You know, I'll stick it. Where do I put it? Right there, maybe. You know what? I'll move myself over a little bit so I can put it on the left side of me, which I'd prefer. There we go. All right. All right, so look at us tap this 915 level. Was a resistance yesterday on the NASDAQ on the NQ. We did have a slight green day. It wasn't crazy green, but it was slightly green yesterday. We'll see if that day continues. All right, Volkswagen CEO at a FT Summit says by Q3 2026, the new vehicles will have hit the China market. It will be in the BEV segment by then. Again, United Airlines debuting some type of new interior. It's called the 787-9 aircraft elevated interior, whatever that means for the UA. Honestly, I was never one that takes first class. I'm not really one that likes first class. I've never really been in first class, to be honest. I'm not like, I hate flying in general. But upon further look at it, I think I'd probably do first class if I could. If it wasn't crazy high, I think I'd probably go to first class just because I freaking hate flying. I'm scared of heights. I don't like heights at all. I don't like flying at all. And so being right next to somebody and, you know, having babies crying and, you know, I think, you know, next time I fly, I might try. Yeah. Are you really? Time? Do you think CPI will be negative or positive? I think it'll be positive year over year. If we're talking about month over month, I think it'll still be positive. But who knows, man? I don't freaking know. I think I got it right last time, but just a guess. All right, so the NASDAQ just cracked that 915 level, getting up to 925s here. If we get high enough, I will short because we do have inflation data today, and I think, yeah. I'm not even mad. As a person with kids, like, I get it. All right, so we just had some news that Goldman Sachs raised the 2024 China GDP growth forecast to 4.6%. Previously was 4% after the U.S. agreed to larger than expected tariff cuts. This news just came out regarding Goldman Sachs. All right, guys. Yeah, so again, China's GDP raised to 4.6% from 4%. I wonder why. Oh, then the back of the plane? Yeah, well, what if you're on the front of the plane anyway, though? Are they expecting a solid increase month over month CPI? Yeah, they're expecting like 0.3% month over month, 0.3%. All right, so China said they're willing to deepen cooperation with Switzerland on trade. This was reported about 8 minutes ago. Again, and today's big thing is the CPI inflation report. Yeah, so let's talk about it. The big stories of today's CPI. All right, so look, we hit that 925 level. AMD up to 109s. Nvidia is pumping up a little bit too. Nvidia got up to almost 124s. Hit 123.50s. 123.50s, almost 124s. And Michael Saylor's been buying up Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin up to almost 104s again. It's up to like 103.8 on futures, Bitcoin futures. Actual Bitcoin's probably at like 103s, but well, Nasdaq hit 21,000. I tend to think it will, but if inflation data comes in bad, that obviously is going to change the potential outcomes of this. So it depends on what inflation data shows up as, to be honest. So fair. Yeah, I mean, planes are pretty safe regardless of first class or not. And I'm afraid of flights. I don't like flying. I don't like, but yeah. Oh man, coffee tastes good, guys. All right, looking at our poll, we asked people, does CPI come in higher or lower? 43% think it comes in higher. 31% think it comes in lower. 26% think it comes in as expected. Yeah, so here are the key things to watch for when CPI prints at 8:30 today. CPI month over month versus consensus, whether overall consumer prices rose more or less than the street's forecast of 0.3%. Headline CPI year over year pace, the year over year inflation rate versus expectations, expected at 2.4%. A larger signal could signal, actually it's expected, I don't know why it says 3.4, it's expected at 2.4% today for year over year inflation. A larger drop could signal easing price pressures. Core CPI, food and energy, this measure is often more closely watched by the Fed. A surprise here tends to move rate cut odds. And so you want to watch core inflation results. Core inflation today is expected at 0.3% month over month and 2.8% year over year for core. So 0.3% month over month, 2.8% year over year for core. Shelter components, which is typically the biggest single contributor to CPI. Watch if rent and owners equivalent rent gains accelerates or decelerates. Like we'll see if that's the biggest, that's the biggest one you want to watch that influences a lot of stuff here is the shelter component. You also want to watch for sub-indices, energy and food, volatile but large swings, fuel and grocery prices skew the headlines, sticky versus flexible, durable good prices, autos, appliances can hint at cooling demand. We're going to watch for the market reaction in treasuries, of course, like the treasury market reaction is something we always watch. We're going to watch the market reaction in gold. The dollar index, we're going to see if it weighs on the dollar index. We're going to look at Fed funds rate. And what that means. So yeah, the shelter component is the single largest category in CPI. It accounts for 1/3 of total inflation and captures the cost of occupying housing. It's made up of two parts. Owner's equivalent rent, which is abbreviated to OER. It estimates what the homeowner would pay in rent if they were renting their home today, derived from the BLS. Homeowners report how much they think their home would rent for. No actual money changes hands. OER purely captures imputing housing costs for owner occupants because most American-owned homes. OER makes up the bulk, about 2/3 of shelter's weight. And then you also have rent of primary residence, which is kind of like the renter side of track. So renters actually pay for their main home based on the BLS survey. Again, collects lease contracts and stuff. And yeah, shelter often represents 30 to 40% of the overall CPI report. And so this is why it's important to watch for this. You want to look at lease turnover versus renewal rents and more. Yeah. Checking to see if there's any other big news. Robinhood acquires Canada's leading crypto trading platform, WonderFi. U.S. Trade Rep Greer says global 10% tariff is a strong incentive to reduce the deficit. He said the U.S. is not relying on any trade partner, and we are discussing other deals in parallel. The president is going to consider change if we see results. We're moving as quickly as we can on trade deals. And this is all during a CNBC interview. He says it will take time to end non-tariff barriers with China. All right, so we're getting a little dip here. I want to see if we bounce at 915s. I could buy this dip. Although I do think we're going to get kind of like choppy leading into this report. And so I would normally attack like a long like dip buy here. But I also think we could have choppiness leading into this report. And I think if we do have choppiness, we're going to come right back down. And, you know, we still got an hour and 10 minutes or so, hour and 7 minutes until this report drops. And so, yeah. What's up, Smart Film? What's up, Ed? What's up, Finn? What's up, Sig? What's up, Sam? Pew, Dalton, Win, Alien, X, Real. Jerome Powell's not speaking today. Jerome Powell is speaking Thursday this week. All right, look at that bounce right there at 9:15. Maybe I should have bought it. I don't know. Does the Thursday PPI report reflect better inflation expectations, or the tariffs should be already reflected in the CPI report? All right, guys. So yeah, what else we got? Nvidia, Apple. Again, year-over-year inflation expected at 2.4% today. Yep. So we're making a full post about everything you want to watch for during today's inflation reading. At Beginner Trades, give me a follow. So we are dipping down a little bit. If we get a bounce up, I might honestly short. Take a longer term trade based around what's going on. Small little micro position here if we can get it. I made a little bit of money yesterday. I just want to say, Sam, I can't guarantee anybody here is a medical professional. I hope you feel better though, bro. Add to your winners. Right, Trinity, that's what I've been saying. I've been honestly preaching that for a while here because it freaking works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like here's the thing. When you add to your winners, there's going to be some days where you do it successfully and then whatever position you're in just turns. Yesterday was a day like that for me, where I'd get myself into good positions and then I'd add to them, and then it would turn against me and I'd get out flat. But I ended up slightly green yesterday despite that. And so you just got to prep for that if that's your strategy. If your strategy is adding to winning positions, you got to just understand some days the market's going to be whippy and it's going to be really difficult to lock in profits. And like you got to be okay with that, because the days when it works, it really works, you know. As I always say, though, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. Always make your own assessment. Trade responsibly. I can't guarantee anything. Understand CFTC 4.41. Hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. Not an investment professional. I would say I'm the top 3 greatest and worst trader simultaneously in the world right now. Don't copy me. Can't guarantee anything. With that said and out the way, though, we'll see if we get a bounce. I will short into this market if we get it. Yeah, you just got to be okay with, like, some days adding to winners is not going to work. And again, this was yesterday for me. I'd get myself in a good position, add to it, and then it would just turn against me and I'd get stopped out. And that's normal. Like, I think if you're adding to winners, some days are going to be like that. So I would just be careful and get a tetanus shot, maybe, Sam, if you need it. You know, depends on where the piece of metal was from. If it had rust on it, you probably want to go to the doctor, brother. Not a medical professional, though. What if CPI comes in at 13.6%? Well, the market's going to dump down. I mean, that's never going to happen, but still. Market's coming down if that happens. CPI under 2 today? I doubt it. Well, I think if you're DCAing long term, adding to losers is the way, you know, and winners. I think DCA means it doesn't matter if it's up or down, but yeah, I think it depends. Day trading terms, I'd rather add to winners because it puts yourself in a better position. What earnings do we have today? Let's take a look. All right, so we're getting a little bounce here. I'm honestly slightly tempted. You know what? It's CPI day. I'm gonna short into this, I think. Cause I mean, why not? You know, we gotta live life here. I'm gonna take one micro contract here, little baby contract. See if we come back down. Target is ultimately the 200 exponential way down here at 8081s. If we start to push up well over 915s, you know, and we get really higher than like 925s, I'll probably cut it. But it's small. We might add one contract to this. And ideally what we're looking for is coming back down to 881s or so, because it's CPI day. And a lot of the time the market's flat. Market went up a lot yesterday. You know, unless they know something that we don't hear, which is possible. You know, unless they know something that we don't, which, you know, is possible. And so I'll try to add to it if it's a winner as well. Nice little rejection at 915s, but the second ad I'll look at is 920, and then we'll use a very tight like 925 risk level or something like that. Is what I'm looking at. We're getting up there to where we might add one little micro. We're not down much at all, less than $10 on this position right now, just to clarify. I'm trying to scale up too. Let me pull up my other algorithm here. Did y'all see the update about Top Step X? Top Step X is adding algorithm support for Top Step X, which is great, honestly. Like, if that's the case, dude, I'm going to be building some stuff on there. I don't know, Christopher, what I'm going to do regarding CPI. The trades I'm taking right now are very short term, very small size trades. And so with that, I'm not really going to make any big like bets on what's going to happen. Nobody freaking knows whether the market's going to go up, down, or sideways. Especially not me. Big money might know. I'm not in that club. I have no freaking idea what we're going to get. And so with that, I'm just going to keep it very light, very small today, leading into the CPI report. I'm betting on choppiness and sideways action. And again, if we move up a little bit, I might add a little piece to this just because, there we go. I'll add it right there. Maybe going to add one more. But again, I think we're going to go sideways, which means I think we're going to come down because we've pushed up a little bit in the last couple minutes. And so I think we're going to go back to kind of like the mean, or the 200 exponential down there. Is kind of like my bet. I got a small risk, a big reward here, and I can just kind of let it play out. If I'm wrong, it's small. We can try to make it back after the opening bell is the plan. If I'm right, we'll get a decent little trade. And again, it's ahead of CPI, so we got economic data dropping today. A lot of the time, the likelihood of chop goes up with inflation data or any type of big economic event going on. So, and again, we made a little bit of money yesterday. It was very small. We made more on Friday for sure. Friday we did really, really well. We made like 300 something on one account and then 80 on the other on Friday. So did really well. Yesterday we were basically flat, but slightly green nonetheless. Fed Watch tool has a rate cut for July. Does it really? The last time I looked at the Fed Watch tool, it had a rate cut for September as its first. Let's take a look. July. No, Fed Watch tool still has a rate pause for July that I'm showing here. So I'm showing it still. Like, look, the Fed Watch tool has a pause scheduled for July. So here's July, right? This is July right here, and this is a pause. 63% likelihood of a pause. So not a very high chance that we're going to cut rates by July. Although today's inflation report could influence this. If inflation is under control, that's an optimistic good sign. If inflation is under control. So we'll see what today's report shows. We really, we got less than an hour now. But yeah, we'll see what today's print shows. Do you see how the economists now are saying risk of recession is way long? Do you mean long and unlikely or long and less likely? All right, so we're going to add one more piece to this, and that's it. And if we start pushing up too much, we'll cut it. I wanted to add it 920. I got out a little bit early, but that's all right. And now we're green. All right, I'm going to take one off there, just protect the trade. There we go. You like to see it? I'll take another piece off there, lock in some profit, and now we can just be really loose on the rest. And we have a big level. We got a lot of room now. I wouldn't even say it's big. The range is very small, but we got time. It's a really whippy candle, though. We went down. We went up really big, and we added our last piece here, and then we dropped really big, and then we went right back up. I still short bias, though. But I don't like it as much with this last candle. We'll see if it closes better, though. We got time for it to drop a little bit before the candle closes. And if we get out break even, that's okay. If CPI comes in higher, John, would that make the recession outlook less likely? Yes. Yeah, CPI stronger. While it's bad generally, it means less likelihood of a recession because it means a stronger labor market is what it means. So yeah, it would essentially mean a stronger economy in a lot of ways. All right, so we're pushing up. We will cut this one break even and then maybe re-enter if we get some better price action if it continues to head up, which is looking more and more likely that it is. We'll let it test though, but yeah, we got to cut it. Okay, so now we're essentially flat on the day. We're down $1. So, and this is what I mean. Like sometimes you're going to add to winners and it's going to fake you right out. But I think the trade made sense, and I think I got myself into a lot of really good situations there. But it just kind of retraced back on me. We could also short. If we get up to 925s, I might take one more short position here. See if we reject off of it. Again, I'm kind of short biased up here just because we got less than an hour before inflation. A lot of the time the market's choppy leading into CPI and apprehensive, and the market doesn't know what it wants to do. All right, so we're going to take one position here, and we will add one more at 925s, which we're almost to now. Didn't quite get there. All right, that's close enough. All right, so we got two contracts here too. Very small position though. We're basically flat on the day. I essentially want to see if it breaks, if it taps 25 and then comes back down. And then kind of retraces back and then retest 915, and then we can maybe get ourselves into something good there. But all right. We rejected off of it initially. I don't know if I like how quickly we came back up, though. So we tested off of it, and then we came right back up. Let's see if we pop down a little bit here. It's a very small trade, though. The range is so small. So, like, even though... What is this playing right now? It's supposed to be instrumentals here. Here we go. My risk level is going to be about 930s, I think. I think 930 makes sense. I think if it gets up to 930, the likelihood of it testing those highs is very, very high, and I don't want to get stuck in that. And so we'll give it a second. There's 28s. But again, guys, just to clarify, we'll talk about some of the stuff here. The big things to pay attention to today. Core CPI influences the Fed. Shelter components, the single biggest contributor to CPI. See what renters are doing. See what homeowners are doing in terms of pricing. The treasury reactions, like how the market's reacting to treasuries. We're going to watch the 10-year treasury yield print. See what bond prices are doing. See if people are selling bonds, buying up bonds. See what the Fed funds rate is pricing in now once the CPI inflation data drops in about 50 minutes. That is the big story of this FOMC meeting. Or no, I'm sorry. That is the big story of today's CPI inflation report. And yeah, we're going to have to cut it. Oh, I just added to it. I did not mean to do that. That is the worst place to add, personally. Great. Yep. I have to add. I really did not mean to add to this at all. I'm kind of frustrated. I should probably just cut this, right? Yeah. I don't like it because it's right at the highs of the day, and like I don't want to get that momentum spike. Yeah, we're just gonna cut it. Small little losing day though. We're down like $20-something, I think. We'll wait a little while, see if we get some price action that we like. If CPI comes in higher, John, would that make the recession outlook less likely? Yes. What's up, Ollie? Is Tesla up? I mean, Tesla went up a lot yesterday. See, and this is good because, like, okay, so I'll tell you guys the story. My wife has this portfolio, and she shares it with some other people. And one of the holdings in it was Tesla, right? And this was prior to all the political stuff that went on. They were holding Tesla, right? Because Tesla was like a big growth stock over the last 10 years. And so after this big correction, you know, Tesla was down like a lot, you know. And she came to me and she was like, hey, John, should I hold Tesla? And I told her, like, obviously, I said, hey, look, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. I have no freaking idea. I told her, I said, if it was me, I would probably add to it personally. You know, now there's some risk to doing it, but I'd probably add to it. And if you hold it long enough, it's probably going to come back, you know. And so I'm just glad to see Tesla up a little bit for her sake, you know. And yeah, I mean, I've been holding Tesla too, you know, for years, but still, when other people's on the line, it's a little bit more important. And speaking of Tesla, like, look, and again, my thesis was correct. Once we got close to like 930s, look at this thing rip up here. So that's what I didn't want to get caught in. But look at Tesla, almost up to 320s. You know, and over the last few years, I've talked about Tesla. Like, good things about Tesla, self-driving, FSD technology, the data that they're pulling from their AI, their driving AI, is incredibly valuable. The risks, Elon's outspokenness in politics, of course, huge risk. I've been pretty vocal about both of those things. You know, we'll see what happens. With it. I tend to think it's going to go up over time, but who knows, man? Who knows? If it gets really, really political, then it's bad, naturally, and so you want to be careful there. You could be wildly wrong. Yeah, that's right. I'm pretty sure I did. I told her I have no idea. The market could do anything tomorrow is what I told her. I'm pretty sure. I was like, hey, I have no idea. The market could do anything tomorrow. In general, what I told her is this. This is almost verbatim what I told her. I said, the people who tend to do the best, because like the people that she has that account with, they told everybody to sell Tesla. They were like, and these are like investment managers in like, you know, at a bank, right? And so they're telling everybody to sell. And I'm sitting there like, dude, this is the worst time to sell. It doesn't matter what blue chip stock you have right now. Selling after we've dropped 20% is the absolute worst time to sell, right? But you got to think about, like, the bank is only thinking about if can they look bad, right? Personally, I think it looks worse to sell at the freaking bottom. But the bank is only thinking about, can I look bad, right? Like, hey, if things really hit the fan, they might leave and pay somebody else to do this. And so let's be risk averse and only... You know what I mean? But I think when you're holding something long term, you got to just be willing to sit in it. The worst time to sell is when it's dropped 20%. You know, the people who lose the most in crashes are typically people, I say this over and over again, the people who lose the most in crashes. And this is what I told her. The people who lose the worst in crashes are people that get emotional and scared and sell after we drop 20%. The people who do the best in crashes and corrections are people that buy it up on the dips that we get. Warren Buffett. Better to be fearful when others are greedy when others are fearful. Same thing, same concept here, you know. And so I don't know if this is done yet, but like I said last week, we're the single largest buyer of Chinese manufactured goods. I was very vocal about this last week. I tend to think a deal is going to get done. And so then following me being like that, we had this news over the weekend that said, hey, it's looking like a deal's probably going to get done in the next 90 days while everything's paused now. Markets are up, you know, decently from it. At the same time, we could also get some stuff that turns the market the other way. You don't really know what's going to happen. CPI today is one of them. If we get bad CPI print, that ain't good. Thursday, we got even more economic data coming out. So tomorrow's kind of slow. It's really weird. We have CPI, nothing tomorrow. Huge day Thursday. Thursday, we got retail sales, Philly Fed Index, Empire State Manufacturing Index, PPI inflation data, jobless claims, unemployment, Jerome Powell speaking, and more on Thursday this week, so the day after tomorrow. And so if we get some bad prints there, bad stuff could happen. But for now, we're looking good. We're looking pretty good. Market just broke highs of, I don't know if this is highs of the day. Let me see. Yeah, market just broke. Yeah, market just broke highs of the day. And it's starting to creep up a little bit. It's at 937s, 940s. As I always say, I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong. Don't copy me. But still. Yeah, but I mean, George, you know, you're talking about people sounding smart, And no offense, brother. I'm gonna say what I'm about to say. No offense to you. But the entire point of investing is to hedge against inflation. And so you say, nah, bro, you've lost some of that to inflation. And no offense, but that doesn't sound very smart to me, because the entire point of investing is to hedge against inflation. You know, and so of course inflation is going to go up. That's an inevitability. Like, prices are going to go up, brother. You know, and again, at the same time, like, you could always look at the best performing assets and say, oh, I should have bought that one. I should have bought this one. I should have bought that one. But you're missing the point of all of this, which is to hedge against inflation and to let your money work for you over time. It doesn't matter whether you get the best performing asset ever. You know, most of the time they would have flocked. Like, the bank that we're talking about is probably one that would, like, sell these stock positions and then buy up a bunch of bonds with it. Okay, and those are obviously going to underperform what a lot of these stocks are going to do. Even in the last week or so, you know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I think people using the argument of inflation against stock gains seems pretty silly to me, because the whole point of investing is to hedge against inflation. That's what it's for. That's what you do with it, you know? So bringing up how much inflation we've had and acting like the gains aren't real because we've had inflation is silly, man. That's ridiculous. No offense to you. It's all good. It's all love. Cheers to you. I think Nvidia rips if Saudi deal goes through. Maybe. Potentially. You also don't want to be too influenced by politics. Like, I don't care about Tesla's politics. I don't care about any of that stuff, man. I'm not going to hate on us. I'm not going to be mad at gains because of the political sentiment of the company. You know, I think that's ridiculous too. You know, you want to kind of separate yourself from all that and just look at money. All right, anyways, we broke highs. We got up to 945s, 940s. I sold Bitcoin at 105. Bad call. I mean, I'm not going to say anything's a bad call. It depends on the time you're holding it. If you want to check out Top Step, though, guys, again, they're an affiliate of mine. I'm biased, of course, but genuinely good for traders. Most day traders lose money. Doesn't matter what course you take, who your mentor is, you're probably going to lose money in your first couple years, really, day trading. And so you can either try to look cool in markets and fund your own account, or you can try Top Step. Top Step gives you a 50K demo. They test your skill with it. If you pass the test on the demo account, it's $50 a month. They fund you 50K with a 90% split, which is similar to funding your own account. And prior to that split kicking in after you're funded, you get to keep your first 10K in profit. Again, very similar to funding your own account. If you fail, you're out $50. So you got a limited risk, similar reward to funding your own account, and learning how to trade in a structured environment makes perfect sense. Teaches you how to trade better, in my opinion. Top Step's the most legit in the world. They've paid out millions, fund thousands. And it's just a great way to learn. It really is just a great way to learn. If you use my link, you know, it helps support the channel as well. And if you go through my link, make sure you use Top Step X, because there's zero commission on Top Step X. Tiny amount of fees per trade. I'll put this up here and we'll pin it to the top of the chat. But remember, guys, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. Always make your own assessment. Trade responsibly, guys. Can't guarantee anything. Understand CFTC 4.41, hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. Can't guarantee anything. Please stop spamming, bro. Yeah, I understand all this stuff looks great. Market's dipping down a little bit. I wanted to short it too, but again, we kind of got a little high break. People holding Pfizer having missed many chances like Palantir, Nvidia, Tesla, Amazon, and so on and so forth. Right, but I mean, mostly what I'm talking about, George, is I'm talking about like the Mag 7 or really like the top 10 weighted stocks in the NASDAQ. Like those are usually, I'm talking about like Palantir, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Netflix. Like these are my favorite stocks, tech stocks. And so those are usually the ones I'm talking about anyway. But I understand your point. I really do. I understand your point. I just don't think inflation's a big argument towards it. I think you got to understand inflation's going to rise regardless of anything. And the whole point of investing into gold or the stock market or real estate is to hedge against that inflation. You know, so like holding inflation against the gains, like the gains aren't real because we had inflation. You know, I don't like that at all. But everybody's different, bro. It's all good. Yeah, well, if you pass it, sure, Adrian, you got to pay an activation fee, I think. But I think that's still noticeably cheaper than you'd pay funding your own account thousands of dollars and probably losing that in the beginning. So it's an opportunity cost, but it's all good. Berkshire's great. Yeah, Berk is good. There's a lot of stuff that's good. Bitcoin's good. You know, Berk is good. I personally like Netflix. I think Netflix getting into live sports is huge, and it's going to grow Netflix like crazy over time. Now, short term, you never freaking know. It could do anything. It might drop tomorrow. I have no idea. But long term, I like Netflix. I think live sports is a game changer for them, and I think it's going to be a really big business thing for them. Right, exactly. Digital. That's what I'm saying, too. We got 36 minutes until CPI comes out. Yeah, it's at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Hey, thank you, Beach Bum. Y'all check out Beach Bum's channel. Give the man a subscribe if you haven't yet. We appreciate it. All right, so NASDAQ's falling back down a little bit here. If we get like a cup and handles pattern, I'll still short it, but I want to wait some. Yeah, for sure. I never liked PFE stock anyway, though, George. Like I said, the main thing I disagreed with you on is inflation. I don't think we can hold inflation against stock gains and use that as an argument against stock gains, because I think you're going to lose money to inflation regardless of whether you invest in stocks or not. And so at that point in time, it's just about identifying which is the highest performing asset. And yeah, I think that's usually the stock market. Anyways, NASDAQ's pumping up a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to short this now. Especially ones that do buybacks. Yep. Yeah, looking at our poll numbers here, 45% think higher, 30% think lower, 25% think as expected. So most people think we're going to show up higher than expected for CPI. I don't know if they're right. I don't know. I'm just looking at this. All right, guys, NASDAQ's testing the highs of the day. It's at 940s. High of the day is right around 945s. Nvidia breaking highs is the cause of it. So maybe my short thesis was wrong. It wasn't really short thesis. I mean, it was short thesis for sure. But it was more like I thought we would chop. And maybe that's wrong. Still, we're down very small on the day. So we'll see if we can fight back after the open. Yeah, I used to be really into wrestling pawn. Like I had a phase. I would say 5th grade, 6th grade, 5th and 6th grade. I was really into wrestling. It was mostly driven by the N64 game. Can't remember what it was called. I liked Sting, you know. And then once I hit like 7th, 8th grade and started getting into girls, I was just kind of like, wrestling, smeshling, you know. But still, I had my moments with wrestling, you know. Yeah, WCW. Yeah, I remember WCW versus NWO. Like, that's what I remember the most. WCW versus NWO. Nvidia bullish. I bet my house and ultimately my on crypto. If I lose everything, I just don't see how crypto isn't bullish 5 to 10 years from now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's arguments against it. Like, I think AI could impact it a lot. If the quantum chips start being able to get around the block, get around the cycle of Bitcoin, then it could cause some dilution problems. But that's a pretty far-fetched thing. But overall, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin too. Yeah, Palantir flying up. Speaking of AI, Palantir. It's been one of the, like, this thing is up 100% or so since early April. 100% since early April. I have no idea, G. I don't know whether you should buy gold or not, bro. No idea, dude. Yeah, I remember I went to one live show. I remember I saw, like, Bam Bam Bigelow. And, like, a bunch of other people. I went to one live show. It was when I was, dude, I can't remember how old I was, bro. I must have been, like, 10. You know? Bitcoin is almost literally nothing. Look, and I understand the argument, but, like, most of the world is a nothing now. Like, most money is actually nothing. Gold is a shiny rock that doesn't really do much outside of very small use case arguments for technology. You know, silver is actually more used for tech than gold is. And, you know, I hear people say, oh, well, if stuff ever hits the fan, you know, people are really going to deal with gold. It's like, oh, a shiny rock, you know, that doesn't really do much. Wow. You know, like, come on now. Tangibility. The tangibility argument, I'm not really a big believer in it. I think most of the world's going digital anyway. And so you can either jump on that and ride it up, or you can be stubborn and say, oh, and, you know, miss out on a lot of the big moves that happens. But it's up to you. Yeah, a shiny rock that most people don't actually literally own. Right, we could reduce things to their tangibility, but still. Alright, guys, so we broke highs. We hit 950. I'm kind of bummed I didn't have a level drawn at 950. We'll put it up now. We went up. We tapped 950 here. We still got 30 minutes left. 30 minutes left. Do you think Bitcoin can overtake the gold market cap? I think it could. We got a little ways to go for that, though. Yeah, I mean, you might be right, drops. What I'm trying to say, though, is that people acting like gold has some, like, super useful, innate thing for, off-the-grid situations. I think they've been sold on it. And I like gold. Gold's one of the single best inflation hedges of all time, right? Gold has gone up drastically, over the last, 20, 30 years. Gold has gone up a lot. And so, but I think you gotta look at it for what it is and stop trying to. People want to discount Bitcoin because they missed out on Bitcoin, right? So people want to, reduce Bitcoin to, it's nothing, it's made up money, and I think they're missing the whole freaking point of it. They're missing the whole point. Donkey Kong looks gold bananas. Yeah. JD earnings are out. Yeah, we had some earnings this morning. Nothing really major, though, to be honest. We had JD, we had SE, we had CyberArk, we had Under Armour, a couple other ones, but nothing too big here. Still 30 minutes until, yeah. This is supposed to be... Okay. Instrumentals. I don't know why it keeps changing. That's not instrumental, bro. Come on. There we go. All right, so we're kind of consolidating at the top here. I do want to short this. Again, I'm really kind of tempted to short this. I think I will. All right, we'll take two. Yeah, so still trading is pretty small here. The range is honestly not that big for how much stuff is pushing up. Hopefully we'll get some better volatility after the CPI print in 25 minutes. I can send you beats, bro. I'm not going to use anybody else's beats. No offense. The risk reward is just not big enough to justify using somebody else's beats. Again, so here's the biggest stories today, guys. We got CPI inflation data dropping live, 8:30 Eastern time. We got headline CPI month over month, whether it's higher or lower. Year-over-year forecasts, a larger drop could signal easing price pressures. Core CPI is what's going to influence the Fed. You want to pay attention to the shelter component, which is typically the biggest single contributor to CPI, like basically what renters are doing, what owners are doing, and stuff. Yeah, so I was trying to bet on my choppy thesis again, but just getting not doing good on that today. We'll switch accounts and go to a different one and play with that one and maybe do something else on the other ones. Just not worth it. And so there's the high of the day break. I think maybe the market wants 21K. Yeah, I think the market honestly wants 21K. But I think it might take CPI to get there. Apple is what's ripping up. Apple just got up to almost 211s. The range is very small today, though, man. Yeah, so Apple is up for some reason. Do you guys think we continue to run up into CPI? Apple just kind of retraced back down, though. Let's see what it does. Look at that drop. Wow. Wow. So we did come right back down here. See if the drop continues. But yeah, we're going to watch shelter components. I got too many windows up here. Get this out the way. 20 minutes left too, chat. 20 minutes left. 10-year yields are up this morning. And so these are a couple things that we're going to watch with all this stuff. 10-year yields. Here's a 5-day trend. Again, you can kind of see we have dipped down from like some of the highs that we were in yesterday, down to 4.4%. Still pretty high for Treasury yields. Palantir's rising up. It's almost up to 119s for Palantir. 119s. It's getting up there. Again, we got a Fed pricing in for September. The rate cut is getting priced in for September specifically, is what it looks like here. A September rate cut. Yesterday or the day before, this was July. Now it's all the way back to December is what they're thinking for rate cuts. So we still got a lot of time here. Again, chat, we got 20 minutes left until CPI inflation data. 20 minutes left. NASDAQ just broke highs quickly and then came all the way back down. So we'll see if we get anything different now. But today's CPI print is incredibly important because of that. Like, we got inflation data today, and that has rate expectations. We can watch the 10-year yield to see if they get some big influence over them. Exit out of this. There it is. Okay, good. All right, guys, 20 minutes. Yeah, I mean, we made money yesterday. We made money the day before. We're down small today. We can act like my first red day this week is somehow terrible, or my first red day in the last few days is somehow terrible. But, you know, y'all will be all right. Again, we're going to be paying attention to the shelter component. Looking at the Bureau of Labor Statistics here. Last one came out April 10th. Today's is on the 13th. You can see all items 2.4% last time, 3% for major. Energy down 3.3%. Core 2.8%. Last time I showed up at minus 0.1% for CPI, minus 0.1%. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have red days. Red days are normal. You got to understand them, accept them. The only people that don't think they're normal are new traders where they got every day's green. For me, I'm okay with having a red day. I usually just make fun of myself and try not to lose too much. But yeah, let's get ready. Today is Tuesday, CPI report. We got 17 minutes, 0.3% for core, 0.3% for regular, 2.4% year over year for regular, 2.8% for core. We got about 1,500 here. Still got almost 20 minutes left, too. So y'all hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate the love, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today for CPI. Remember, Wednesday is PPI. So Wednesday is when we get the producer price index. Wednesday. Big day. We'll see what we get. Or no, I'm sorry. Thursday is when we get the producer price index. Thursday we have, let's take a look. We got so much stuff Thursday. It's kind of crazy. Wednesday we have a bunch of Fed speakers. We got like Jefferson speaking. 30-year mortgage rate comes out a little bit earlier. We got Daly speaking. That's basically it. Thursday though, we have European GDP release. We got Canadian housing starts. We got U.S. jobless claims, U.S. PPI, U.S. retail sales and core retail sales, jobless claims, Philly Fed Index, New York Empire State Manufacturing Index, PPI inflation data. Powell speaks in the morning as well, followed by like industrial production and capacity utilization. Atlanta Fed GDP later in the afternoon. We got some balance sheet updates, and then Friday we've got like housing starts, import-export data, and then the Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation data coming out. So we got a whole bunch of stuff, to be honest. With 15 minutes left until inflation data comes out, I'm curious to see where the market goes. Tesla just broke highs, got up to 320s. Yeah, we're going to share it live. The reason we get thousands of people here because we cover it very quickly. We cover it live very quickly. Yeah, Nvidia's pumping up, Palantir's pumping up, Tesla's pumping up a little bit too. The market's not really getting over these highs though. It's kind of contracting back down some here, but we got 14 minutes left, give or take. Amazon up to 211s almost. Amazon's been on a little run back up, right? Let me see. Yeah, Amazon's been on a run back up with everything going on. I think the tariff news is one of the best news for Amazon specifically, just because like Amazon products, you know, when you buy something on Amazon, most people are third-party sellers in what's called Amazon FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, where they send Amazon all their goods and they have Amazon ship them out for them, basically. Most of the time, these private label products that you buy on Amazon are wholesale products. Like I can go to Alibaba or AliExpress and kind of haggle with wholesalers in China and say, hey, I want to buy this tea tree oil. You know, give it to me for, if I buy 500 bottles, give it to me for $2 a bottle. And then I can take that and I can list it on Amazon for $20 a bottle. And thus I have a tea tree oil business that I started out from scratch that I can have a pretty good margin on selling on Amazon. And so some of the people that are going to be the most affected by these tariffs are Amazon sellers and Amazon in general, because that's where most of their sellers get their stuff from. And these tariffs are obviously going to like widely impact their stuff. And so with that, Amazon has not reacted very favorably to these tariffs. And now that we got the 90-day pause news yesterday, where they're basically pausing tariffs for 90 days so that they could try to get a deal done overseas, Amazon is up. Amazon is up to 211s right now. If we take a look at Amazon, Amazon's had a good run the last few minutes. Look at Amazon go. 211s. You know, and again, yesterday's news obviously is very good for them. All right, guys, we got 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Whew. Give me your answers in chat. Do you guys think we come in higher or lower? Higher or lower? I'm going to say for year-over-year CPI, higher or lower. Let me know. We got about 11 and a half minutes, really. Higher, lower, 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 or lower, higher, higher, lower, high, lower, higher. I don't know what entry you should have for gold for CPI. Please stop. Okay, here, you're going to get booted out of here, bro. Lower, but next month much higher since the tariffs were calculated. Yeah, I predict 100. 100 what? A bit higher, but won't affect the market. I think inflation data might influence the market. We don't know, though. We'll see. We just broke highs of the day again. Getting really close to 2100s here, which is about right here. I think 21, big psychological level. So if we get good inflation data, that's the level I'm watching. I don't think the economy has had time to deal with tariff prices yet. I think it comes in on mark. Yeah, that's what I think. I think 2.4% is what I said earlier. Year over year. I think we're just going to come in flat. That's what Trueflation has it as well. If we look at Trueflation, it has it at, it has inflation data showing up flat potentially here. So we will see. Yeah, it has, where'd it go? It had the BLS CPI data. I mean, Trueflation showed 1.7%, but yeah. See, they don't even have it now. Weird. Show 1.7%. That would be a good print. For some reason, it's not available. Strange. Try again later. Weird. Yeah. 1.68% is what they're saying. Eggs index is at 585 a dozen. All right, chat. We got 9 minutes left. 9 minutes. We got 2,000 viewers here. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Setting a trapdoor for lower, mark it up, needs retrace. The reason we get thousands here is because we cover it quick. So subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks so much. Do some push-ups? Nah, bro. All right, guys. CPI inflation data. 8 minutes here. 8 minutes. Looking at our poll numbers, we got 44% think higher, 32% think lower, 24% think as expected. It's expected at 2.4% year over year for regular CPI inflation year over year. Core CPI expected, I believe, at 2.8%. 2.8%. We will cover it as soon as it releases live right here at 8:30. 2.8% expected for core month over month. They're both expected at 0.3%. Both core CPI and regular CPI, again, both expected at 0.3%. 0.3%. We will see what we get there. Again, I'm still pretty interested at Thursday because we got, just at 8:30, we have retail sales, PPI, Philly Fed Index, New York Empire State Manufacturing Index, jobless claims, and more. And then 10 minutes later, we got Powell speaking. So Friday is going to be a very interesting day. A very interesting day. Or Thursday, I mean. Hedge funder, don't care too much this month. Dip won't last long. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. 7 minutes left, guys. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. Here's a hint. If you put it in 2x speed, it won't go behind ever. If you hit the live button and then put it in 2x speed, you'll never have latency issues. So if your computer lags, it's not going to put you behind on the stream. Do it now. 7 minutes. Here, for the CPI print, I'm going to put up like gold. And we are going to put the dollar index. Gold and the dollar index. I think these are some of the more influenced things from CPI. We can also put up the 10-year treasury yield, which we will watch very closely as well. Has the 10-year yield opened yet? No. So we will see. But United Health stock is crashing amid CEO shakeup 2025 outlook. So UNH is falling down. Oh, okay. Accidentally clicked an open tab. UNH. Look at UNH, guys. Down from 380s all the way down to 340s amid shakeup with their CEO. Definitely looking rough. 6 minutes left, chat. 6 minutes. I can put Bitcoin up. Yeah, so here's Bitcoin. We'll see how that's influenced by this. Gold falling down, tumbling down as the markets push up this morning. Again, we got 5 minutes. A little bit. We got about 6 minutes left, but we have basically 5 minutes left. Be ready. A little bit over 5. Market's getting very flat right now, almost like tiny ranged here. Like, look, so here's the very small range that we've seen. And I tend to think this is going to continue leading into CPI report. I think it'll probably go something like this, where it's going to chop really here and then boom or whatever it decides to do, depending on the data. I think we're going to have a very small range leading into this. And so just be careful, guys. Remember, CPI inflation data is usually a pretty big catalyst that could influence markets in a deep and heavy way. And so just be careful. We got Bitcoin and gold up. So again, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed if you want. We're going to break everything down just to walk you through everything again, guys. Couple biggest things. Obviously, regular CPI, core CPI, important. We're going to look at those numbers. Last time showed up at minus 0.1% for regular month-over-month CPI. Today, we're going to be looking at the shelter component, the biggest single contributor to CPI. We're going to watch if rent and owner's equivalent rent gains, accelerates, or decelerate. So we're going to see if they go up or down. Housing data is going to be a really important part of this report. But again, as always, at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time in about 4 minutes, we are going to cover it as soon as it drops. As soon as it drops live right here. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We appreciate the love. Let's prep for this. Last week, CPI crushed the market. We didn't have CPI last week. We didn't have PCE last week. The last time CPO showed up, it was negative. It was at minus 0.1%. They expected a positive 0.1%. I remember it. Like gas went down for March. CPI for all items falls 0.1% in March, and gasoline declined as well. So we just popped over highs again. We got gold bouncing at the previous closing price ahead of CPI's print. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. I want that June cut. The June cut's not happening, Chase. A cut in June ain't happening, brother. It's just not happening, dude. It really isn't. Like, a cut in June ain't freaking happening, bro. Not unless we get really, like, low inflation data and really weak GDP, high unemployment. You know what I mean? Like, we'd have to have a weak economy that is trending towards a recession and inflation that's under control. That's the only way we would pivot all the way to a rate cut in June, and it's pretty freaking unlikely. All right, we got 3,000 viewers here. Again, y'all hit the live button next to the play button. We still got 2.5 minutes left, about 2 minutes and 20 seconds or something like that. So again, hit the live button next to the play button. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. We're going to get ready here. Brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. A minute and 45. .4 told you all for weeks. Next cut is in July. So Womble, you're wrong. Next cut is at this point is pricing in at September, not July. It's pricing in at September. A full month and a half later, brother. We don't know though. Hey, thank you, X. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, sir. All right, guys, we got a minute and 20 seconds. Again, hit the live button next to the play button, or you could be delayed. Put it in 2x speed. Here's a hack. Put it in 2x speed. You'll never be delayed again after you hit the live button. Do it now. Let's get ready. We got a minute and 10 seconds. We're going to do a full-on countdown for the CPI report. A minute and 10 seconds. We got 1 minute exactly, basically, right now. 1 minute exactly. You guys ready? The Bitcoin chart's literally on the bottom right chart, sir. Bottom right chart. Bitcoin tends to follow the market mostly. But who knows with inflation data? It could go whatever, but it tends to follow the market. All right, we got 1 minute, guys. We got 40 seconds, really. All right, be ready. 30 seconds, chat. 30 seconds. 25 seconds. About 20 seconds, guys. 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8. Timer's early. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here's the report. CPI showed up at 2.3% year over year, 0.2% month over month. Core CPI showed up at 0.2% and 2.8% year over year. We showed up at 2.3%, slightly better than expected, and 0.2% month over month, slightly better than expected inflation print, and the market is jumping up. Again, 0.2% month over month versus 0.3% expected, slightly better than expected here, chat, slightly better than expected. Again, CPI inflation month over month showed 0.2% versus 0.3% expected. Core showed 0.2% versus 0.3% expected. CPI year over year showed 2.3% versus 2.4% expected. And then core CPI year over year showed 2.8 as expected. Optimistic things, guys. Good. Again, optimistic things. Market's up to 2100s. We'll put this data up on screen. Again, we showed up better than expected for both regular CPI year over year, regular CPI month over month, and core CPI month over month. Better than expected for all of it. And again, we made a post about it as well. Better than CPI than expected, both month over month and regular year over year. So good data here, chat. Good data. We'll put all of this stuff on screen so you can see it. Here's the print right here. We'll put it up on screen. And again, give me a follow, guys. Everything we do here is free. We cover everything that goes on in finance, chat. Literally everything that goes up, that shows up in finance, we cover it. Here is all of it right here. We'll even put ourselves above it right here. There you go. There's all of the data right there. NASDAQ originally reacted very favorably to this, all the way over 21K, and then came all the way back down. Still over 21K, though. Goldman Sachs lifts its UK growth forecast and expects cumulative real GDP growth. But again, we came in better than expected, chat. Better than expected here. I get it. Maybe this might influence. Let's take a look at the 10-year Treasury. Let's take a look at the 10-year Treasury, see what it's doing on this report. All right, I think this is a big, important release here. So the 10-year Treasury originally spiked up, and then it turned down, and now it's starting to decrease here, which makes sense because this, like a lower than expected inflation print means that it is more likely that we're going to get lower interest rate sentiment by the Fed, right? Especially with core CPI showing up slightly lower than expected. So one of the things that you see here is the 10-year Treasury yield decrease from this report. You see Bitcoin move up a little bit, very small. Gold is kind of flat on this report. If we take a look at the dollar index here, the Dixie dollar index all the way down to 101.4s. And so again, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And again, we've only done one plug prior to the day, today. This is the top 3 greatest plug of all time if you haven't already subscribed. We cover this all live as soon as it happens right here on YouTube. Not an investment professional. I can't guarantee anything. Understand CFTC 4.41. I do trade off stream sometimes. Sometimes I lose off stream. You might not see it. I don't even claim to be a good trader. Subscribe to somebody that doesn't make up a bunch of stuff. If you haven't already, check out Top Step. Great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose. Doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow. Most day traders are going to lose their first year. That's just the truth, right? And so learning in a structured environment makes sense. Top Step gives you a 50K demo. If you can make 3K in profit on that demo without losing 2K first, following their rules and conditions, they fund you 50K with a 90% split. Prior to that split kicking in, you get to keep your first 10K in profit. If you fail, you're out $50. It's limited risk, similar reward to funding your own account, and they pay out millions, fund thousands. A beautiful way to learn because you're risking something, but it's not the full extent of risking thousands and thousands of dollars funding your own account trying to look cool in the market. And most day traders lose, including here. Frankly, it's a lot cheaper to lose here than it is to put up thousands yourself and lose that, which is what happens to most new traders, including myself. And so the futures market, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, the Russell, gold. Very similar to day trading stocks. If you want to check it out, here's the link. Great way to help support the channel. I appreciate the love. Thanks so much. It's in the chat right now. Again, inflation data coming out better than expected. Look at the dollar index spike up here, which is interesting. Let's take a look at the shelter component here, guys. So again, we talked about this, a little bit more. Let's take a look at this. Let's find it here. So index for shelter rose 0.3% in April, accounting for more than half of all the items' monthly increase. The energy index also increased over the month, rising 0.7% as the increases in natty gas index and the electricity index more than offset a decline in the gasoline index. The index for food, in contrast, fell 0.1% in April as the food at home index decreased 0.4% and the food away from home index rose 0.4%. And so again, shelter index rose 0.3% in April, accounting for more than half of this. Because remember, guys, like we said earlier, shelter index is a big, important part of this. But like I said, CPI increased 0.2% seasonally adjusted basis in April, falling 0.1% in March. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that today, over the last 12 months, all items in the index increased 2.3% before the seasonally adjusted stuff happened. Again, shelter index rose 0.3%. Market's still up a lot. It's holding some of the gains. It's not up that much, to be honest, but market's up some. Still holding the gains. We'll see if it continues. Let's end this poll, and we're going to do another poll right now. Does the market hold the gains? Does the market hold after today's CPI inflation data showed lower than expected? Yes or no? Does the market hold after today's CPI inflation data showed lower than expected? Hey, buddy. How you doing, dude?
Good, guys.
Love you, bud.
Love you.
You doing all right, man?
Yeah.
All right. Love you, dude.
Love you.
Have a good day, bro. All right. All right, guys. Look at the NASDAQ testing highs up here, guys. NASDAQ testing highs up here. Hey. How you doing? All right, love you. Bye. All right, guys. NASDAQ's pushing back up. We're at 21,000 here, chat. 21,000. Who did? Oh, yeah, Sam. Yeah, market's still heading up. Saying Brody, your kid is crazy. Were you in a frat? No, I'm just from Louisiana, brother. In Louisiana, dude, you'd have to understand the culture. But I'm from Louisiana. And so we refer to our children as bruh. Come here, bruh. Come here, bro. Like, very often. It's not a frat thing. It's a Louisiana thing. Don't judge me, all right? If you know, you know. All right? If you don't know, you don't know. And you might think I'm in a frat. But, again, it's a Louisiana thing. I promise. It's a Cajun thing, is what it is. You might say, hey, bro, come here. You know, it's just kind of how we talk. Don't judge me. Anyways, NASDAQ's pushing up. We're almost to the highs of the day. Now we're retracing back down. Look at this 21,000 level. That's my favorite level. If we pull back to that, I might buy it up. He's my son, dude. I tell him I love him. You know, he's a good kid. Smart kid. Alright. Amazon breaking highs of the last like week just now. Meta's getting up there. Palantir is still at 120s. Microsoft testing 450s now. If we get a dip to this $21,000 level, I guess I'll try to buy it. Yeah, it's a southern thing. It's not even a Louisiana thing. Yeah, honestly, Theo Vaughn actually is from like 45 minutes away from where I'm from. He's from Covington, Louisiana. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so Theo Vaughn is actually, like, so if you hear the similarities in how we speak, it's a Louisiana thing. It really is. Southern thing too. But all right, guys. So we are at 21,023. We got this kind of symmetrical triangle looking thing here. So we got the symmetrical triangle looking thing. We'll see if we break out of it. We're just kind of like wedging a little bit here. I'm looking for a pullback. We call everybody bro in the South, dude. We really do. Yeah. We say you know a lot. Like a Louisiana thing that you'll hear me do is, you know. Like, you know is a very big filler word. Like going to the store, you know, and then we got to go do this over there. You know, like it's very much a Louisiana thing. Anyways. No, I moved away about a decade ago. I love my hometown, but I'm not living there. I don't care. With kids, I'm not living there. No offense. I love Louisiana. Don't want to live there anymore. All right, guys. Specifically Baton Rouge. Like, Baton Rouge is sketchy. Very sketchy. You don't realize it when you grow up there, but it's definitely sketchy. Anyways, so I'm looking for a 21,000 pullback here. I love the food, though. The food's great. Are y'all long or short right now? We're trading small though. Like any position I take here is gonna be very small. Like CPI got better. 0.2% is better than 0.3, obviously. It wasn't as good as last time, which showed up at a negative, but it's still good. Let's take a look at the rate cut expectations here. All right, so rate cut expectations still pretty much the same, which is showing a 8% chance of a cut in June, 92% chance of a pause in June. This hasn't changed much. Most people are long. Yeah. I'm going to try to buy this little dip here. 2 contracts. Small, but we're going to keep it very light today too. We will buy 4 contracts here, and then that's it. I just want to see if 21,000 props this thing back up. See if we get a little bounce here at 21K. It's such a big milestone level. I would assume we're going to get a bounce here, but you might not. You never freaking know what's going to happen. I haven't been doing the best this morning too, so. Yep. Like, how are we going to be red from good CPI data? Thank you. At least it popped right back up. I'm going to cut half of this just to protect the trade. I don't feel like losing more if it turns on me. I could probably be a little bit more loose on 2 as well. Dollar index coming down here. Interesting. Gold moving up now too. But I'll let this sit. We got maybe a level here, but now we're under 21K again. It could turn into resistance. All right, we're just going to cut this. Well, I don't want to give up too much before the opening bell, which is typically where my best trades are. As well as, like, we're getting faked out a lot this morning. Which, again, we made money yesterday. We made money the day before. We made, like, hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Friday. And so we're going to have red days sometimes, but today's just not easy in pre-market. Lower CPI print, market goes down. Leading into it, the market went up. It's kind of the buy the rumor, sell the news event, I guess, here, where the market moved up in anticipation for the CPI being good, and then after the CPI print showed positive data, then the market turned back down here. And so we're not going to risk too much. Very small day, though. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but still, I don't want to give too much back to the market after a pretty good string of days yesterday and today. It means inflation was slower than expected. So it doesn't mean inflation was lower. It means it was slower than expected. I guess it was lower, but it's still. So don't get it twisted. Inflation's not going down. It's still increasing, but it's increasing at a slower rate than expected. What is it, dude? I put it in instrumentals, bro, and it plays. Apparently, like, it's supposed to be instrumentals. Let's see. Instrument. Oh, this is instruments. No. Okay, now I don't know what y'all are doing here. Okay, how do I select instrumentals? Reset filters. Okay. There we go. Yeah, no, we got PPI inflation data on Tuesday. Tuesday is actually the busiest day. I've talked about this before. Tuesday's the busiest day this week. We have retail sales, PPI inflation, Jerome Powell, New York Empire State Manufacturing Index, Philly Fed Index, and more on Tuesday. Or on Thursday. So Thursday is actually a much busier day here. Thursday's a very, very busy day. Like, a lot of stuff going on Thursday. And again, guys, if you haven't already, check out Top Step. I'm day trading on Top Step right now. So Top Step, they give you a 50K demo. They test your skill with it. If you pass the test, they fund you. That's the base one. And again, it's $50 a month. So you're learning how to day trade for $50 a month. And if you're good enough as a day trader, you can then fund your own account and make money or do whatever. If you fail, you're out $50. It's not the end of the world. And it really is a great way to, like, learn how to day trade. When most day traders lose money, do not try to look cool in markets. Instead, try something like this. It just makes sense. It really does. It really is the better way to learn. Learning how to trade in a structured environment where you're still risking something, but maybe you're not risking the full extent of, like, funding your own account thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, that makes sense to me. Like, that makes sense. Again, no PDT rule in futures. You can day trade like the S&P, the NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, gold, some currencies. And again, learning to trade in, like, a structured environment simply makes sense. It just makes sense. And so it's a great way to, like, test your skill, learn how to trade better. Yeah. And if you pass it, you get a 50K funded account, 90% split. So we are in a little trade here, guys, just to show you. We'll go ahead and get out a piece of this here. We've locked in a good bit, and we'll hold the rest break even maybe. See if we can pop back up. And again, this is a 50K funded account. Top Step pays out hundreds of millions of dollars to their traders. They're the most legit one in the world. most day traders lose money. And so again, if you want to check them out, I'll put the link up one more time. Good way to help support your boy here in this channel. We appreciate it. And yeah. You could ask anybody. If you put up money yourself, you're probably going to lose. You know, if you put up thousands funding your own account trying to look cool, you're probably going to lose. Doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow, most day traders are going to lose. I know I did. I lost thousands in the beginning. I thought I was going to be a day trading savant, guru, genius. People are going to be like, dang, John, genius day trader in my first year. And instead, I just lost thousands of dollars, which I lost like $4K, which was a lot of money to me at the time. And I wish I'd had something like this. I really do, because instead of losing 4K, I'd probably lose like $50, $100, something like that, you know. Just a better way to learn. As I always say, though, not an investment professional, not liable. If you lose, make your own assessment, trade smart, guys. We got the opening bell in 45 minutes. Be smart, be ready. A lot of stuff going on today, so just be ready, guys. So we're about 55 ticks here. It's a pretty nice little trade. I want 100, but I'm gonna go ahead. 55 ticks here. Oh, sorry guys. Let me get the disclaimer out the way. My bad here. Sorry. All right, there's 100. You know, we're gonna go ahead and sell this up here. So we'll take that. That's pretty good. Not bad. We wanted 100 here. We got it. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen at 100. We're still red on the day, but not. We had inflation data just drop. Learn without the burn. Well, yeah, inflation is prices, of course. Amazon's still ripping up, guys. Again, watch us day trade the opening bell live here today. And again, guys, we talked about what was in this report already. So we talked about what was in it already. And in this report today, we had shelter pricing go up 0.3%, which makes up over half of this inflation report by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Again, index for shelter rose 0.3% in April, accounting for more than half of all the monthly increases. Energy index also increased over the month, rising 0.7% as increases in the natty gas index and the electricity index more than offset a decline. In gas, the index for food, in contrast, fell 0.1% in April, as the food at home index decreased 0.4% and the food away from home rose 0.4%. Again, we got treasury yields. If we're taking a look at the 10-year. If we take a look at the 10-year. 10-year is now going up a little bit, 4.6% here. And again, you can kind of see the market. Let me put in TNX here. Yeah, look at TNX. So TNX is kind of flat. The market is now back over 21K. It's back over 21,000. Okay. Let's see if it holds now. Here's 21K again. It's right around this big yellow line. Looking at some other prices here. We got 25, but I don't know if I like it. We got this high up here, which is probably big. We got 50 right here, which is another level I'm going to watch. We got 25 right here. There we go. Put that up right there. All right. Are you guys red or green so far in the day? Looking at our poll number, I asked people, does the market hold after today's CPI inflation data showed lower than expected? 72% of people say yes. 28% of people say no out of over 800 votes. So yeah, most people think market holds now. I'm seeing some strength though. Amazon's pushing up. We got to look at Palantir up to almost 120. Meta's at 64 or 645, almost 650. We still have the big rate cut lever to pull if we get economic weakness. Things are looking pretty good right now. I see new all-time highs in the near future. Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Tomato Head. I tend to think like if we get a deal done with China, this is something I said last week. The U.S. needs China. China needs the U.S. without question, right? And again, people argued with me. They were like, no, bro, China doesn't need the U.S. And it's like the U.S. is the single largest buyer of Chinese manufactured goods in the world. Of course they need us, you know. And so because of that, what I said last week, prior to this, 90-day pause and the likelihood of the deal getting done, I told people I thought a deal would eventually get done. And people argued with me. And then over the weekend, we ended up ripping up big because we got a 90-day pause to China tariffs. China and the U.S. have at least verbally agreed on a lot of stuff, a 90-day pause. And it's looking like a deal is going to get done in the next 90 days. And I think if they announce a finalized deal, markets are going to fly, of course, because that is what's been weighing the markets. The market has been correcting because of that, And I think people either didn't buy back in, or people are mad, or people want to short the market or whatever, and they're getting beat up now. And so they're trying to act like we're just going to always keep going down. And maybe we do. You never freaking know. You don't know if the market's going to go up, down, or sideways. But in general, we already dropped 25, 30%. It's if we get a deal done, the market's going to go up. But we got to wait for that, and who knows. We'll see. Yeah, looking at it, I asked people if they're red or green, neutral, waiting for the open. Jamie says green. Slightly green so far, Bo. Warrior says green. X says green. Long, green. My P&L is green this week. Green. Yeah. Y'all are doing better than me today, though, for some reason. I made money yesterday and the day before. Today, I'm red. I tried to attack the chop, shorted a bullish trend. That's what it was. It's all good. It happens. All right, guys, so you can see the CPI inflation print. Green. Hey, my guy. What's up, dude? Again, stick around. We are going to day trade the opening bell live. So again, stick around. We are going to day trade the opening bell live. I'm going to switch this to day trade. It's like Lord of the Rings music. Yeah, so we had the news come out. Yeah, the CPI data show up. All right, chat. Oh, what else we got? There we go. We're still bouncing right at that 21K. The market's kind of flattened out, though. It hasn't really moved too much here. It's kind of flat. Favorite jiu-jitsu sub? Bow and arrow choke, probably. If we're talking gi, it's a bow and arrow. If we're talking no gi, it's an armbar. I like the far side armbar a lot, no gi, and gi really. If it's a gi though, I like bow and arrows, probably my most used sub. I'll kind of front headlock position, take their back, go for that cross collar from behind grip and bow and arrow. All right, so we're holding over 21K. I kind of want to buy it, but you know, we'll try. We get a little retracement. We'll buy this dip. Let's see if I'm gonna buy one contract though, and then add to it if we get green. If we're not green, it's small. There we go. That's a nice little pop. Look at that. All right, we're gonna add to this now. See if it works. See if we go up a little bit more. See, this is what I'm saying. Adding to green positions, you got to just be okay with getting faked out sometimes if it happens. We'll give it a second though. I mean, as long as we don't chop sideways, we should have some upward action here, but you never know. Well, there's a huge fake out candle. You don't love to see it. And now we got to cut that. It's a big drop all of a sudden. Let me see if there's any reason for it. US is working a deal. See, no, that's not the reason the market's down. Maybe this is just a weird candle. Jim Cramer said earlier this morning, bulls need steady drip of trade deals to assure market about recession and inflation. Again, I'm going to switch this account. We'll trade on our normal one. Very flat day though, very choppy day. We'll see if we get anything better, but it's not easy to make money for me. Hopefully you guys are doing better though. We're kind of straddling that 21,000 level. Alright, so we did actually get into a little trade here, but now we're almost flat. That's better. We'll take another piece off there. Let's get out the rest here. We'll keep one contract and then we'll just let this one ride. Alright, we're gonna cut that. Oh, I just made like $100 on that last little trade. Going back and forth though, still red. Kramer's a hack. Yeah, I don't know if it's good for markets. No trade so far. What's up, Tiny? Hope you're doing good. Made some green yesterday. Yeah, I made money a little bit yesterday. It was mostly flat, though. It wasn't like a crazy good day for me. Look how flat the market is, though, right now. Like, look. This 21,000 level is kind of the line in the sand, though, like right here. Sorry, terrible drawing. But this 21,000 level right here has been propping it up. But we've been mostly sideways above it. So, like, the market doesn't want to go under it and hold. And so I've been trying to buy it close to this level and ride the rebound up, and I've been selling at the top, which has worked, but it's not easy. Very flat, choppy range. I would just be careful today. I don't think we don't have any other economic reports today. Again, the 10-year treasury yield is spiking up. Look at this. And really, this is what it is now. It actually came down a little bit since the last time I looked. So 10-year treasury yield. You would think lower inflation than expected would mean lower interest rate sentiment. But it's not always that easy. It's not always a perfect science for stuff like that, to be honest. Like if you take a look at bond prices, they're probably pretty mixed too. They dropped a lot, and now they're heading up. Weird. So we're just kind of consolidating sideways. Bond prices are going up, which means interest rate sentiment is down, but the market is incredibly sideways, incredibly boring. There we go. I think that's a little cleaner. Still holding that line firm at 21K on the NASDAQ here. You can take a look at gold. Gold's very flat. Bitcoin, if we take a look at this, 104s. So, still got some time. I've had some pretty big channels follow me over the last few days on X. Give me a follow at Beginner Trades, guys. We cover a lot of this stuff. Like, earlier this morning, we broke down what to look for in the CPI report, specifically shelter stuff. We broke it all down. Key things to watch. Headline, shelter component, energy, food, sticky versus flexible, treasury reaction, all this different stuff. We broke this down live. We also talked about Goldman Sachs raising the China GDP growth forecast to 4.6%. Last time it was 4% after the U.S. agreed to a larger than expected tariff cut and pause. We talk about Micro Sailor. We cover a lot of the big earnings that gets released every morning. NASDAQ is now testing 21,000 even. It fell underneath it for a split second. So again, if you want to help support the channel, give me a follow at Beginner Trades. We have been growing this a lot, and here's the link right here. Check it out. Yeah, we're barcoding kind of. Eddie Hall? Would anybody get in an MMA cage with Eddie Hall? Of course not, bro. Dude, he could beat me up with one hand, bro. All right, guys, we're starting to rebound back up here. Look at 21. So we're back over 21s. Very flat. Bitcoin going down a little bit. It's now, Bitcoin futures now under 104s. Gold, slight push up over the last 5 or 6 minutes, but still very slow, very boring here. AMC got some news this morning. AMC is taking this bold move to capitalize on a booming box office movie theater chain and original meme stock. AMC slashing prices on Wednesday for members of its loyalty program. It says it's slashing prices for them as the movie chain looks to tap in the box office rebound. AMC has not moved at all, man. AMC, honestly, bro, it's lost some attention. I think a lot of these guys have moved to Palantir. Like, Palantir is kind of the new meme stock. And justifiably so. I mean, this thing has gone up like 100% since early April, after dipping down, you know, a huge percentage, and now it's back up to almost 125s around the highs. NASDAQ starting to get some strength here, testing this top. I'll buy it. Look, if it dips down, I'll buy it again, but We also had United Healthcare CEO shakeup dumping the stock. UNH is down to 340s from 380s, a very, very large percentage drop. That is about, what is that? That's about what? 10% drop, right? Being down $40 in an almost $400 stock is about 10%. Yeah, so UNH down very big percentages. Right here, you can see that dip in UNH. It's kind of the stock market news this morning. Amazon reacted very good to the tariff news overseas yesterday. So. All right, so look at the NASDAQ creeping up. Again, we will buy a dip. Gold, again, where's the Dixie? I'm assuming the Dixie is up on this, or no, down on this report. Yeah, it's down to 101.38. 101.38. Again, stick around, guys. We got 20 minutes. We're going to be day trading the opening bell live on stream, as we always do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Yeah, honestly, I grew my channel a lot during the GameStop movement. Look at this pump. Look at the NASDAQ rip up. I grew my channel a lot during the GameStop movement. That's really where my first streams where I started hitting like 1,000 or more viewers happened in 2021. The problem is, like, I was covering GameStop and GameStop went to like 550 and I sold. And people got really, really mad at me at the time. In hindsight, I got out damn near the top. But what you learn very quickly, like, people do not care. Like, they just want you to prop up their positions, and I'm not about to do that. Like, I'm gonna get out when I think it's time. You know, biggest paper hand in the world right now, top 3 greatest paper hand ever. Palantir. The problem with Palantir is the PE ratio. I like Palantir as a company, though. I tend to think it's going to go up over time, but I think it needs to fix its earnings because its PE ratio is like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's very high. All right, so here's that dip. Let's try buying it. We'll slowly scale into a dip buy here. We got 2 micros. Today's definitely not the day to copy me, guys. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I've gotten kind of beat up in markets most of the day. So do not copy me. And honestly, we might keep trending sideways, but I'm not going to take too much risk. This song sounds like the 90s. Like Family Matters. The range is small too. Like, the range isn't big. Held AMC. Well, AMC's not GameStop, and that's what I kept telling people is that, like, dude, AMC never had the squeeze, like, components. But the problem is that you got a bunch of people on trying to grow a social media account, and so they're telling everybody to buy AMC like it's some crazy short squeeze, and it just didn't have the fundamentals to justify the crazy squeeze theses. But like, people try to grow social medias, and so they put out all these conspiracy theories regarding AMC, and they told everybody to buy AMC, and they said AMC is gonna go crazy because of this and this and this and this and like all this different stuff. And it never had the fundamentals. It always had a very large float. The fundamentals of the company itself, large float size, too many shares out there to really get some crazy big squeeze. It's not like the reason GameStop squeezed is because it had a low float. And AMC was just never that. AMC had hundreds of like 500-600 million billion in the float, and it was just going to be a lot harder for retail to influence like they did GameStop. But people just kind of latched onto it, and a lot of people didn't understand the fundamental aspect of it, so they just kind of kept on pushing this big short squeeze thesis with AMC. A lot of these guys were just trying to grow a following on social media, and so it turned into this big mess where everybody's kind of getting talked into buying it, and if you say anything negative about it, people freak out and attack, and it's just turned into toxic real quick. And then AMC ended up losing a lot of steam because people eventually figured out that AMC wasn't GameStop, and so people stopped trading it, stopped holding it, got frustrated with Aaron, and turned into a mess. All right, guys, we're mostly flat on this position here. Trying to see if it goes higher, but mostly flat. Speaking of meme stocks, though, Palantir, man. Tapped 120, came all the way back down to 119, but still looking pretty good. Yeah, appreciate the love, guys. Yeah, I just don't really get wrapped up into the meme stocks, though. Like, I think meme cryptos have more opportunities, but I don't really understand the market super well, so I don't really mess with that stuff either. Yeah, I mean, we're down less than $20 on this trade right now. Just kind of choppy. Like, we had a good inflation print, but we basically went up big, pulled back big, and then slowed down big. So it's looking more like it's going to just chop sideways for a period of time now. Yeah, we got to cut that. Oh my gosh, I just added to it again. I've done this twice today. Yeah. Did not mean to do that. So it'll be all right. It's small. I guess I'll hold this now. Oh, that actually might help. Well, all right. I guess it ended up working out. The accidental ad ended up working, but still. I'm probably just going to wait now. The market's too choppy for me. I've just gotten faked out left and right. We're honestly not down small. We're honestly not down big, I mean, on the day. We're green in 2 out of these 3 funded accounts, and we've been like this for a while. But made a good bit of money the last 2 days in markets prior to today. So I don't want to give too much back ahead of the opening bell. We got 15 minutes left to chill, and we'll see what we get then. Yeah, I think meme cryptos are a little bit easier to make money in, but I think the risk is higher as well. So gold coming down now, the Nasdaq's pushing up. Yeah, people are still squealing. Again, I think it has to do with how much people understand about markets, right? Like, I've been trading for almost 10 years now. Like, I've seen it all. Like, I've seen crazy squeezes. I know what it takes to get them. You know, and it needs a couple different things that AMC didn't have, you know, but you got a bunch of people feeding the nonsense. You got a bunch of people trying to grow on social media. And so one of the ways you see people try to grow is they tell people what they want to hear. You know, if you're holding, 20,000 AMC shares, what do you want to hear? You want to hear AMC is going to go to 100K, bruh. You know? And so you got a bunch of social media accounts that are just trying to grow a following, kind of feeding that to rookie traders and investors that don't really understand why that's not feasible. And so they end up following those guys because that's what they want to hear. They want to hear that they're going to be rich, right? And when you feed that to people enough, more and more people follow each other. Confirmation bias kicks in, where you're more likely to believe something you want to happen. So even though it's not really feasible, AMC going to 100K, if you've got a bunch of AMC shares, you're more likely to believe that, you know what I mean? And then that kind of spirals into nonsense and just turns bad, And that's kind of what happened. GameStop was different because GameStop actually was the largest short squeeze in history. It had a low float of like 40 or 50 million shares when it happened, and so it was actually influenceable, and retail can actually like punish hedge funds easier in GameStop. AMC was just never that, though. You had a bunch of other stocks I ran with it as well. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I went. I went from AMC, or no, I went from penny stocks. Like, I watched the movie The Big Short, thought I was about to be rich, watched a bunch of, like, Tim Sykes, Millionaire Students, Financial Freedom, realized that that was almost always nonsense, you know. No offense to anybody that does trade penny stocks, though. If you can do it, you can do it. Maybe I just can't do it. And eventually gravitated towards, like, day trading the SPY and Q, and like blue chips, and like having success with that, and then realizing that I could do the same thing in futures, and then moving over to futures is what kind of the path that I took. And then trading futures, started following economics and learning about economic reports and data and rate decisions and all the different stuff. But it was a long road here, and then yeah. And I think that's like the grown-up way to look at it. Like, you got to start following the economy, rate decisions. You know, if you could predict the economy, you can make money. Yeah, the GameStop AMC stuff was crazy. You know, like I remember that was my first time having like 3,000 people in a stream, and I was not ready for it. You know, I was not ready for it. I didn't. It grew the channel a lot, you know. The problem is, like, you see a lot of people from back then. You had a lot of big-time streamers, right? Back then that covered AMC, GameStop. The problem is that a lot of them never moved on from that. Like, they stayed stubborn. They didn't branch out and do anything else. And some of them did, and some of them are doing well, too. But, you know, a lot of those guys just didn't. They didn't diversify. You can't base your whole channel around one stock. If that stock fails, you know. And I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Nobody cries manipulation more than somebody that's wildly wrong or that's lost a bunch of money. Nobody blames manipulation more than somebody that's wildly wrong about a prediction in a stock, or somebody that's lost a bunch of money. If you have less than 2K, I don't know. I wouldn't trade much, Elon. Yeah, BBBY. I covered BBBY. I remember a lot of people. I told people I covered the squeeze in BBBY, but then I got out and people got mad at me again, and then crickets whenever it went bankrupt. And so, like, I think people have a fundamental problem with greed. Like, I think, like, a stock will go higher and higher and higher. This is what happened with GameStop. The stock will go higher and higher and higher and higher. And once it gets to a peak in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm out. Right? Like, I would much rather cut it early. I would much rather cut it early and retain profits than cut it late and miss out on profits, you know. But I think people have a fundamental problem with greed, and so something will go up and up and up and up, and then I'm like, all right, I'm out, and then they're like, nah, bro, I'm gonna keep holding, and then it goes back down, goes bankrupt or something, and then they're sitting there just being like, man, hey, thank you so much for the donation, Thoughtful. I appreciate the love. Thanks so much, brother. I'm okay with being called a paper hands because I think good traders take profit, you know. But, like, it depends on what it is, but good traders, if you're trading anything but like an index or a blue chip that you plan on holding forever, if you're trading a short-term trade that is an incredibly risky asset, good traders take profit, you know. And this whole thing about shaming traders for taking profit and not wanting to sit on a wildly depreciating or risky asset is silly or ridiculous, you know. Misery loves company is what that is. Anyways, we're starting to push up. We're still flat, though. Still in this range. Not really doing much. 9 minutes left, chat. 9 minutes left. All right, we're starting to get up there here, but we're still pretty much stagnant over 21K. We're starting, like, we have this little trend here though that I'm seeing. I guess top 3 worst trend line drawer ever, but yeah. Again, I'm just gonna stay off of it and wait. It depends on what you're holding. Diamond handsing Amazon or Apple or Nvidia or Google is a wildly different thing than diamond handsing AMC, you know. And that's what people have to understand. Like, if you treat these super like risky assets like they're blue chip stocks, like, people have an innate problem with mid cap stocks, is what I always call. Like, they treat mid cap stocks like they're Amazon and Apple, and that's their big problem. And a mid cap stock might go up 10, 20%, or it might drop 60% in a year. You never freaking know what it's gonna do. And so treating it like it's Amazon is a bad move. And diamond handsing it like it's Amazon is a dumb move, in my opinion, right? But again, I'm not an investment professional. What do I know? But if you're going to invest in blue chips and treat them like they're blue chips. If you're going to invest in mid caps, treat them like they're mid caps. Don't treat them like they're Amazon or Apple or something like that, because that's where people lose big. So blue chips, I do options. Yeah. Do you still do story time? I feel like I've told most of the stories that I have. You know, the last time I tried to tell a story, people got mad. They were like, "Oh, bro," you know. So, like, I'd rather just, you know. Once you stream for years, you run out of stories to tell. Yeah, I mean, the big thing about me, MC, I'm not sure if you actually know who I am or what I say. I do not sell a course, do not sell my own service. I have one sponsor. I tell people I'm biased in their favor. I don't even claim to be a good trader, brother. Like, look at my disclaimer, dude. It says, remember, I am terrible and have no idea what I'm talking about. May be wildly wrong about anything I say. You know? And I definitely don't sell a course. Honestly, I backed myself into such a corner. All right, look at this drop. I backed myself into such a corner. If I sold a course, people would freak out. And so I'm not going to sell a course because, yeah. I like the 200 exponential, the volume weighted average price. Previous closing price is like a milestone level, and big whole dollar numbers like 21K is a good example of this. I use a mix of those. All right, so the president and the Saudi crown prince signed a mineral and chip deal today. That just came out. All right, so Pantheon Macroeconomics are tracking a 0.11% increase in the core PCE deflator. Yeah, all good, MC. It's all good, brother. Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those. I would rather be real with people and just say, hey, look, I'm not an expert. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Like, I set the bar low so that if I do bad, people can't say a freaking word, you know? If I outperform my expectations, great. But, you know, like, I'd rather just cover economics and markets and trade, but not claim to be anything I'm not, you know? I tend to like economics a little bit more than day trading, but I do day trade. But I'm better at investing in economics, which is most people, you know. All right, guys, we got 3 minutes left. Would you consider trying stand-up comedy? Nah, bro. I've thought about it, but like, it's all about writing, and I hate writing, to be honest. Like, I can write fairly well as like a writer, you know. I just don't like it. Like, I've gotten paid as a freelance writer before. I hated it. The writing wasn't bad, I don't think, but I didn't like doing it. It's not something I enjoyed. All right, so Morgan Stanley sees core PCE at 0.23% month over month and 2.6% year over year. That news just came out. We got 2 minutes left. Honestly, I'm still mad about taxes, bro. We get triple taxed. Income, sales, property. It's unnecessary. All right, Palantir testing highs of the day at 120s right before the opening bell. All right, guys, less than a minute here. Less than a minute before the opening bell. We'll see what we get. All right, guys, you guys ready? Here we go. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. NASDAQ is still popping right over that 20,000 or 21K level. Well, no, my mistake. I already fixed my mistake. My mistake is that I didn't structure my business as an S corporation and instead had it as a sole proprietorship, which means that I had to pay a 15% extra self-employment tax. S corporations are much better. Not a tax professional though, but I've already switched the structure. All right, so we are now open in the market. Let's see if we break out of this chop. We're now under 21,000 though. Amazon decreasing a little bit at the opening bell. Not a big candle though for the open. I'm gonna wait at least 5 minutes, let this play out first before we start attacking anything else. So still dropping, but Palantir's pushing up. Gold kind of flat. Netflix down, Amazon down, Microsoft down, Palantir up. Apple is flat, but starting to go down. All right, we're 1 minute into the day. We're rebounding a little bit. Look at Palantir, guys, up to almost 122s again. Very big range for this stock. All right, so we're rebounding back up here, testing 21,000. This is why I don't trade the first couple minutes here. I gotta let the open play out. Look how volatile this is. Where's Bitcoin at? Bitcoin at 104s, 104s, 104.2s. All right, guys, we are at 21,000. Starting to rip. Look at that retracement down. Kind of want to buy this, but it's such a big retracement back down. Sheesh, dude. Look at this thing. I wanted to buy it too, man. I should have. Look at that. Yep. It's too early. I got to follow my rules, though. We're 3 minutes into the open. Still too early. See if we get a delayed response. We made a little bit of money on our other account, but it wasn't a lot. We bought the second little retracement dip, and then we cut it pretty quickly. Still ripping up. Let's look at 35s. Might be a level here. It's the top of that range from CPI. Here's 35s. Just ripping past it. Yep. Turn around a little bit now. There we go. Just made another little $50 buying this dip. Here, I'll put the right account up here that I'm trading. You can kind of see some of these trade results down here. 21, 12, 6, 12, 18. So this is my day so far in this one. Almost green. Not quite yet, though. Netflix is flying up. It's almost 1120s. Amazon up to 213s. Apple is up as well since the opening bell. Meta's starting to creep up. Bitcoin's flat. Tesla flat since the open. Yeah, so look, we just tapped that 2150 level here. Looks like it wants to go up though, but we bought one. Gotta be careful though. I'm gonna add one to this and that's it. There we go. We take half off there. All right, so we are now green. Attacking the strength showing up. We got 21 sixes here. Look at that green candle. So we're now green. I tend to do much better since the opening bell. We get a dip down to 21.35s. We'll buy that. We got 21.50s too. Yeah, so I saw the mineral deal where him and Saudi Crown Prince witnessed signing of agreements between the two countries over the mineral. MBS holds signing ceremony in Saudi. Yeah. Palantir up to 123s. 123s. All right, we're still sitting tight here. Again, we get a dip down to 35s, I'll buy that. We got down to 45s. I want to dip down here. Right there. Here's what I want. Gotta wait for it. It's 45s. Palantir still flying up. Gold still trying to. Again, if you want to check out our platform, it's pinned to the top of the chat. Look at that rip back up. We wanted 35s. It bounced at about 43, 44. So, but again, if you want to day trade with us, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Apple's turning down here though, so just be careful because Apple, big heavy-weighted stocks, turning down. But yeah, we're day trading the NASDAQ and futures on Top Step X. Top Step X also just added algorithmic support, and so if you want to check them out, again, it's pinned at the top of the chat. You can see it. You can also find it in the description. No PDT in futures. You can day trade the S&P, the Dow, the NASDAQ, the Russell, gold, some currencies. You can get started for as little as $49 a month plus tax. Great way to learn how to day trade and get funded. 90% split once you're funded. Check them out. We just broke highs of the day again, over 21.7. Let's see if we continue to push. A lot of stuff's running up. Gold's coming down. A little bit of a delayed reaction from the CPI inflation print here. Look at Palantir as well, chat. Look at Palantir fly. Although, again, Apple's starting to turn. So is Tesla. So I'm a little sketched out about this. We also just had some news reports that said EU's Commissioner for Trade Dombrovskis says U.S. tariffs negatively affect the EU outlook for 25. New EU forecasts will be released May 19th. Gold's still coming down. Gold is now technically red on the day. Again, I'm worried about a correction here because of what Apple's done. Palantir's starting to turn. I'm kind of tempted to short here, but I know it's kind of a crazy outlook. I'm going to wait. Looks like waiting's the right move, too. Look at this rip. There's 75s. Very strong market, though. I think the last 2 days have been filled with good news. Lower inflation data and a 90-day pause to China tariffs. Both huge catalysts for markets. I'm not surprised to see us rip like we are. Hey, later, Teddy. Have a good day. Yeah, my hands are off right now. Looking at our poll numbers, does the market hold after today's CPI inflation? 72% say yes, 28% say no. There's no speech today. I mean, there might have been a speech, but it was more inflation data. CPI inflation data, the letters might be right here. I'm not saying they are, but they could be. We showed better than expected inflation data. Lower inflation. than expected. Thursday's the big day this week too, though. Next week's kind of slow. When is Nvidia earnings? May 28th, so it's the last month of the last week of the month. Alex, you're almost up to 124s. Alright, so look at this pump down. Palantir's still up there, gold falling down, but coming back up recently. We got bond yields very flat. Dollar index down. I'm gonna short this. Very small. Might regret it, but I'm gonna short it. It's a big up wick. Alright, we gotta cut it. Just a big retracement back up. I wanted to, sometimes I'll target these big down wicks because a lot of the time we'll fill them. But, that's alright. Marcus is too strong. So we did jump in short in a separate account, but now we catched it. So let's see, we cut out there. All right, we just made about $40 in the other account. We're very flat on the day. We're kind of neutral in both accounts. This one we're slightly red, but look at that retracement back up. Getting a little whippy up here. It's not really making a direction, picking a direction. A lot of up wicks and down wicks here, so y'all be careful. Meta's still trying to creep up some here. Let's see what happens. Look at the 63 level holding. We got 50 underneath this too. This is 50. 200 EMA. Way down there. It's at 69s. Yeah, it's way down here. I'm not really anything. I'm pretty flat right now. We're up a little bit too much for me to like it on the long side. And we're too strong for me to short. Yeah, I mean, there's short-term levels though. We can probably get rid of 63 maybe here, but we got the top right here, obviously, and then 50. 35 seems okay. 25 seems all right too, but maybe better to throw this here at 20. I think these levels are fine. I think it's just kind of whippy after the economic reports. I think the economic data makes us in a big range. And so because the range is so big, it makes the levels look closer together. Zoom in a little bit, it becomes easier, but yeah, Palantir's been flying up all morning. It's almost 124s. I'm still watching like Apple. Apple's actually kind of red. Here's Apple. Make sure we don't have any data coming out. I don't think we do. I'm pretty sure we don't. Yeah, nah, we don't have anything. SQ being up maybe means people think we're going to correct to the downside. It's funny, we had that guy Kevin who always said we were in a perma bear market. He's pretty quiet lately, huh? Wonder what happened to him. Which is typically what happens, right? They get kind of quiet when they're wrong, you know. I always try to tell people, like, the biggest losers are people who are permanently bearish. Eventually, we're going to go back up. It might take a decade, but eventually we're going to go back up. And so if you're always short biased, the longer you hold a short position, less likely you are to make money. Longer you hold a large, and we're talking about blue chips or indices. Longer you hold a blue chip position or an index position in like the NASDAQ or the S&P, the more likely you are to make money. The more decades they go by, the more probable it is you're going to make money, even if you're wrong for a longer period. No, not Meet Kevin. I'm not talking about Meet Kevin. There was a different guy. His name was like Kevin. I can't remember what his name. Not Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin's different. I don't even know what Meet Kevin's doing. I'm talking about different guy. All right, look at this rip in the NASDAQ here, chat. Wow. I'm trying to see if there's a reason for this move. Something. All right, so Morgan Stanley released a forecast claiming the humanoid robot market could expand to a staggering $5 trillion in revenue annually by 2050. Tesla being positioned in it. Tesla's starting to rip back up on this news too. Look at Tesla. So I think this is what is helping markets. Tesla fighting back, coming back up here. You know, Amazon ripping up is what this is most likely from. Netflix is doing really good today. Palantir up to 124s. Microsoft climbing higher. Okay, so the president is speaking at 10 a.m. as well, chat. Just to clarify, president speaking 10 a.m. All right, we're up pretty big now. People getting baked into what he might say. UNH. Where's UNH now? I know it had a big CEO shakeup trouble. UNH is dumping down here, Chad. Look at UNH. It's falling down quickly. It's at 326s. 326s. We're still fighting higher. Look at this. Look at this drop. We're scalping in our other account here. So we got ourselves down in less than 50 in both of these. So we're very flat, very sideways today. Not easy to make money either, but new candle, open it up, starting to pop higher. Very volatile here. We're getting pretty high again, and then the president's supposed to speak again. The president's supposed to speak again at 10 a.m., which is in about 6 minutes. So maybe people are getting kind of like front loaded onto this potential move in markets. People are getting optimistic maybe into this. We'll see. Breaking highs again. Creeping up there. There's big movements though, for sure. How much? We got 5 minutes until he's supposed to speak. We'll see what he says. He's creeped up a lot. We'll stick around and trade what he says, but up a lot from CPI. We'll see if the market holds leading into 4 minutes. I mean, the deal was already announced, and I think that definitely propelled the market higher. You know. Market's kind of undecisive right now. 3 minutes left until the speech. Breaking highs, though. Apple is starting to creep back down here, though, so we'll see if that holds. You got UNH way down there. All right, we got about 3 minutes left. We already know kind of what he's going to say here. So, again, they announced him and the Saudi, let me see where it's at. Him and the Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, holds signing ceremony in Saudi Arabia. So that's what's going on in 2.5 minutes. So what do you want to speculate on is how does the market respond to this? Does it respond in a positive way? Does it respond in a negative way? I think most people are thinking it's going to respond positively. That's why we're getting this propelling higher market right now. All right, guys, 2 minutes until this speech. Game blouses. Dave Chappelle, the GOAT. Yeah, we got about 1.5 minutes until this speech. Get a little pullback here ahead of it. One minute left. Testing the highs again. Yeah, I'm trying to find the speech. As he normally does, he's late. Apple creeping back up though, so that looks good. $1K puts just in time for Wowzers. I mean, I can stream it if he does it, but we'll see. Yeah, so there's the rip up. Look at UNH fall. So UNH is coming back down. Wow. So yeah, UNH is still falling down, cracking lows again. Fucking week. Let's see if the market does anything. So yeah, I don't see him speaking yet. But we know he's gonna announce the deal that goes on. So I'm probably just gonna cut it, guys. Also, if you haven't already, check out TopStep. TopStep gives you a 50K demo. They test your skill. Here, I'll give you the link. Here's the link right here. It's the White House. If you want to watch it, you can also find it on the White House YouTube channel. So I'll put up the link here. I'm probably just gonna cut it. I'm just not liking any of this movement here, to be honest. We're not really getting anything easy on the upside or downside. But yeah, if you want to check it out, check out TopStep first. If you want to help support the channel, TopStep is the perfect way to learn how to day trade. When most day traders lose money, doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow, most day traders are going to lose money. And so TopStep gives you a 50K demo. They test your skill with it. Learning to trade in that structured environment makes sense. There's no PDT in futures, so it gets you around the PDT rule. You don't have to deposit thousands and thousands of dollars and probably lose. Instead, take this challenge and build skill. If you pass the test, you get a 50K funded account, 90% split, and they pay out hundreds of millions of dollars, fund thousands. Great way to learn. You want to confirm this all with them? I can't guarantee anything. If you fail, you're out $50. It's not the end of the world. It's the best way to learn, in my opinion, the best way to learn. And again, I'll put the link up if you want to check them out. Here's the link. No PDT rule. There's the White House link if you want to see the White House YouTube channel. And then here is the TopStep link right here if you want to check it out. Again, you can also see it pinned at the top of the chat as well as on the top of the page, pinned at the top of the chat as well as in the description of the stream. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here, y'all. Y'all be safe. Market's whippy today. Big green action from CPI inflation. We'll see what that looks like. I love y'all. Y'all be safe in this market. Again, it can be really sketchy, really big. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate the love. Thanks so much. All right, so the China finance minister just announced that they're going to cancel additional tariffs imposed on the U.S. products under two later rounds of measures. That just came out. I wonder if that's helping the markets. But yeah, guys, hey, I love you all. Y'all be good. Have a great day. Be safe.